We back. Let me see. Are you struggling this week? Yeah, we tested. You didn't look like you were struggling, but we in the stream now. Move your head. Go side to side. That ain't moving your head. That's just moving your hand. That I mean, ain't no head movement or nothing. That's whack.
I could use an app.
Why?
I don't know. Probably the oatmeal I had.
That's why I don't have. That's why I don't have it before.
Well, hey, I'm not going to be complaining about being hungry. I needed something that was going to stick. Because last week we went well into the evening.
And you think we're gonna do that?
Hopefully not, but wherever the dialogue takes us, I just wanted to make sure that I got a good start this afternoon.
Speaking of last week, what did you think? You weren't on last week. You was in the background, but you was in the chat. What are your thoughts?
There
Tell,
was a
tell
lot
the
of
people. Tell the people.
tell
Tell
the people.
tell the peoples.
It was a lot of things that I just had to like hold my tongue on, because you can tell that the company we had last week um, didn't know anything about women in Linux, um, or our message or mission. And so to have members speak up on their journey in tech and share that with those people, and then also having those people leave with a different perception about what's going on, and maybe that the way they have been doing things could be tweaked a lot. So it was definitely interesting, but I did just like, okay, I'm gonna see if somebody address that. And then, my fingers got hot on a few little tips, like where did you people come from just to come and start tension? I was really aggravated about that, like super irritated. But all
Um,
in all, I think it was a healthy dialogue.
I'm gonna tell you, like they say on the other shows, don't let them take you out your feminine energy.
Oh, they don't know me. They really don't know me.
Don't let them take you. Let them
They
take you out
really,
your
they
feminine
really don't
energy.
know me in that regards, because I was all out. If that's what it is, I don't think I'm ever in feminine
I,
energy.
girl, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Right? I thought you wake up. I guess if you were born a woman and been a woman all your life,
You would know a little something.
identify as a woman,
Yeah.
get these things we call cycles every month, you know, everything else that goes along with that. I thought that was it, but hey, who am
Well,
I?
I mean, they were operating in their feminine energy, so I mean, from what people deem to be feminine energy.
Yeah, because feminine energy could be, and masculine energy can exist in both. They do exist at one time. Right?
Yeah, so
You can't have that.
I don't know. Like I said, it was very interesting, but the way the dialogue was headed, it just seems like it was more of a confrontational tone, like, you know, dispel this myth, dispute this fact. Like, let's talk about it. So
Uh,
that's where I'm at with last week.
I'm on medical news. I'm slightly a little petty. And it says some people think of estrogen as a female hormone. However, all human bodies require estrogen to function.
Well, there's this interesting book called The Science of Love by John Baines. And I got introduced to the book many, many moons ago. And it is a really good book. And it's an older book, but it basically says that when we are born, we are 50% male and 50% female, no matter what your genitalia is. And how you are socialized affects your that 50-50 ratio, right? So say that you are a boy and you have a single mom and you have a matriarchal family, you're
Mhm.
going to tend to have more feminine traits. So now your 50-50 may be 75-25. You
Mhm.
know, so it's a really, really, really good read. I definitely it's a good read. I definitely recommend it.
Got you.
But I mean, based on me being here on for 46 years as a woman that identifies as a woman, I I don't know what that means. I mean, sometimes I'm feeling, you know,
And then
I
they
be having all the feels. Like I'll be
then they
aggressive,
ask.
assertive, I'll be sweet, I'll go cry at a toilet paper commercial, and then I can do all of that while wearing tennis shoes and a raglan t-shirt. Like I don't know. I've always had like I guess what they consider tomboy energy.
I don't know. Oh, I was told you can't be a tomboy forever. At some point, you have to, you know, if you're a tomboy when you're a woman, you're just gay.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble because I don't. It takes work to get that whole, that whole. It takes work being a woman. Like just being in between shows to get ready for the show to be halfway decent. It takes a little bit of time, and I can tell when I feel rushed. So I don't know. I don't know about that. That's debatable.
That's what I heard. That's what I hear. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, but I can't be a 40-something-year-old tomboy.
Mm-mm, you gay.
I have to be fluid in my energy. No, fluid is the let me stop. Anyway, welcome to Women in Linux. This is Howie Linux, Black Hole.
Oh, but I just said,
This
no,
is Howie
don't
Linux,
derail my topic right now. Don't
episode 36.
don't derail my, don't kill my vibe.
Well, it
Don't
still
kill
is
my
Women's
vibe,
History
B.
Month. So, I mean, we're not off topic. We really haven't said anything to like Happy Women's Month.
I am. I'm finna go down the line. I was gonna say hello to Simcia and see him in the chat. Black Dub 21, Adrian, shout out. Titanium, shout out. Mercedes, shout out. Mercedes even said too. It does take work to be a woman, and I'm like I don't think people in general. Well, let me take the back. I think people realize how much work it takes to be a woman. I do, but I don't think people realize the work that it takes being a woman. In other words, like I even sent you the black owned brand Queen
Hmm.
that's in the I think it's in Target now
Hmm.
for natural deodorant,
Hmm.
right? So as a woman, you do have to worry about what deodorant you put on under your arms because maybe that could be a cause of cancer. We've seen Johnson and Johnson time and time and time and time again come out with products, and those products end up affecting women in the worst way. Shout out to the men in the chat. You now too can have a birth control pill. They're working out, coming out for a birth control pill for you. Yes, men.
It just only took 30 years from in my lifetime. I was like, I often ponder, like, and I am an avid pro vasectomy person. Like, if a man doesn't want any kids, it's like getting your tubes tied or your tubes, burnt. It's the difference. Like, I want men to go get their tubes tied. Like, if you don't want any kids and you are not looking for marriage, and it takes one of your activators to hit that egg, it's a little 10-minute outpatient surgery. I do not see the problem. And you can have them till you croak. Like, go and get that fixed. It's like getting some glasses. Like, go and get that fixed. Go ahead and cut that thing on off.
Casual economist, you said, what's today's topic? Is it femininity? No, man, we just making jokes.
No, we're having jokes.
You're having jokes on like what it is, like, if you are like, and it's so, being from Atlanta and growing up. I mean, and I grew up in the '90s, and I went back and looked at some videos and stuff like that. And I hear all this stuff like people are like, well, Meg Thee Stallion has made all her money off of selling her body and talking about uh sexual topics. And then I go back and I be like, well, Luke was like, pop them and they do the I wanna rock, I wanna rock, I wanna rock, I wanna rock. Like,
Everybody
and
has
then
a lane.
and then if we go back and start looking at Akinelli, just put it in a
I was vulgar. It was a lot of
and
songs we sing along to that are completely trash,
yeah.
and
And then we can
we
go
still
back and
sing
talk
along.
about Too Short.
Oh, and I grew up in the Bay. Freaky Tales were like I was a kid. Like that was the 80s. Like, why do you know these words? But it is what it is.
And I laugh because people are like, "Oh my God, the City Girls," and then when I think about, you know,
Foxy
the
Brown and Little
Foxy
Kim.
Brown and Lil Kim, and then 357, and I could go on. What is being done that we see now hasn't already, like, it's already been done. It's just a different generation, right?
Hmm.
Like we act like this is like new, but it's not new. Like the fact that you see Meg the Stallion wants to get out of her contract, um, and then the way the guy came back at her, like she called him a pillhead, and then he came back at her and was like, "Well, you didn't have sex with everybody in the industry," and that is a go to for demeaning a woman all the time,
Yeah.
right? It's a go to, like, oh my goodness, like the here's the I guess I probably can name off five, but I'm gonna go with three. The number three things that women hear all the time that that get said about them from a man and from a woman, it don't matter. She too emotional. She too masculine. She's a hoe. Pick one of the, like, you
Pick a
can be
genre.
one of them in any other day, right? Yeah, I mean, you might wake up in the morning and you a hoe, and then you might at 3 o'clock you may be too masculine, and then at 4 o'clock you too, whatever, right? It's just whatever. No, while it don't pass by, stay on in, stay on in, stay on in. Yeah, BB, yeah, yeah, and another one, like, like, well, I don't know, these debates crack me up, right? Hey, Courtney, and
I
it's
love it because there's so many sides to
yeah,
people.
and I,
People are
and I
multifaceted, so it
but
is.
that's the problem with the debates. The debates aren't multifaceted. The debates are taking men and women and putting them into this two boxes, and we have binary hustlers that we're getting ready to kick off. Uh, but it's just, it's one of them things. Either you're either zero or one. You can't be a zero, or one, or two, or three, or four, or five, or six, or seven. It's like we only fit into two categories. And I was reading in some of the comments, and this is why I hate these topics, right? Because some of the other cultures, they come into the space, and I've watched other cultures critique um, various YouTubers on their topics, and what if their topics is about um, black men are no good or black women no good, and they take it and they put their own spin on it, and then they take it and then they was like, well, that must be true. And so what I find is, and I've and actually was Fran and I,
Mhm.
when we went out in St. Pete, we were standing there talking, and a guy who had been listening to KS had said, well, he was like, you all need to listen to KS. He's going to tell you what you need to do as black women. And then he went on to tell us that as black women, the reasons why men, he's like, not just um he said primarily black men, but men have a problem with your fake hair. As he sit next to this woman who had clearly had on makeup and fake hair, and she was like, "Well, I got on makeup and fake hair," and he couldn't say anything. I was like, "So what are you talking about? Every woman wears some type of."
Enhancements.
Yes, and
We
and and,
adorn
and, and,
ourselves with
and
many
he was
things.
like, he's like, I didn't know that one your red hair. He was like, that's the point. You don't you
That is the purpose.
don't know. You don't know, right?
Blending,
Yeah,
blending.
yeah. And so this conversation went on and on and on and on, and I walked away from him some and came back and talked to him and stuff like that, and he had to uh he had to sit back and listen, and then he's like, I never thought about it from that perspective. I was like, yeah, because you're only getting one perspective of information. You really don't go out and talk to nobody. And so he was just like, oh, I didn't even think of these things this way or that way, or it's just crazy to me. But nevertheless, you are here. You're vibing with Women in Linux. I'm Tim. This is D. This is D. We are on Highway Linux. This is our second show. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on social media everywhere at Women in Linux, including I don't want to say Discord, but Clubhouse. I had to think about it. Clubhouse.
Meetup.com.
No, I had to think about Clubhouse. All
Oh,
right, yeah. And if you want to keep up with what we're doing, when we're doing it, how we're doing it, what goes on, when it goes on, you follow us on meetup.com/women in Linux. Oh, D, we didn't drop the link. Drop the link for if you want to keep up with us. And I'm probably gonna I may do a little bit of that today. We'll see. For IT Pro TV. If you want to get some training and just get a discount training, go to IT Pro TV. Instagram is Women in Linux as well too. Twitter is Women in Linux as well too. You say you're learning to ask better questions. I don't know. I think we have all the questions answered. I think now it's just execution. Um, that's what I'm thinking. Wally, thanks for stopping by and leaving. I heard you say somebody had something else to do. You say you're also guilty on talking on masculine and feminine energy. Yeah, I don't know. I think you just gotta go with who is compatible to you and who you vibe with. Energy is never
it's a
destroyed.
constant exchange.
Yeah, it's never
It's a
destroyed. It's
constant exchange.
transferred,
Yeah.
right? So we just have to keep in mind the laws of kinetic energy and potential energy. I actually spoke on this in on the in the chat on some of them when people were talking about energy. I was like, we need to define that energy. They're kinetic and potential energy, and then we have to understand what the laws of energy is. Right, when you're giving off this aggressive energy or this aggressive nature in man or woman, you just can't expect to receive a positive result all the time, and it's person dependent when you're doing this, right? Does and it gets into tech. Can you be a do you need to be aggressive in tech? I think all men and all women who of color need to have some type of aggressiveness in tech. I
Aggressive
do.
or assertive?
Both. Uh,
Okay.
Aggressive meaning that you're going to receive someone, that's going to have aggression towards you. Now, you have to figure out whether you want to match that energy or not.
Mm-hmm.
And is it a good time to match that energy? In some cases, in my cases, if somebody is throwing a book at you, being assertive is not really going to be get your point across. You may have to be a little aggressive. If you are in a situation where somebody is um, verbally demeaning you, it's gonna happen. They're gonna be people that are gonna verbally demean you and your character and your
Mm-hmm.
skill sets. You have to know how to handle that. So when people are like, "Well, I don't want to send my woman to work to be around all these other men that may be aggressive towards her and feel like they can't protect her," but meanwhile, over here, when I'm looking at stats, we're below 50,000. We're only at 30,000, 40,000. We too broke to argue. The dog need to be working. The dog need an Instagram. The baby need an Instagram. The cat need.
But you at work and you like you gonna get your foot off my neck today. And for those who don't know and their first time here, me and Tam are friends in real life, and we both work remotely. And so when it comes to that energy, we literally like go back and forth with each other during the day about work situations and how to handle it. Like, I got this back. If I read it to you, how does that sound to you? And how should I respond? Like, it's so crazy how it's like that check and balance is like, I'm feeling this, but should I say this? And how to advocate for yourself, be
Mhm.
assertive, and stand in that, because a lot of people are really, really passive aggressive. Like, we're just like, that didn't answer my question, and you're on some BS right now, because soon as it volleys to somebody else, it's going to be lost in translation, because that person is not conveying the urgency um and importance of your communication.
Yep.
Like, no.
Yep. And then the other pieces that I found as well too, with just being in tech and not just advocating for yourself, but making sure you're finding your tribe at work where you can get in and have others advocate with you as well too, because it's often hard when you are the person that's always, and it's tiring when you're always like, hey, it's me, I'm doing this, I'm over here, it's me, I'm doing this over here. You're always screaming at the mountaintop, for yourself, and nobody's listening. And so that can get tiresome. I don't want to say lonely, but I just say it can get tiresome. But
It's
also,
exhausting. It's or when you say, this is what I need in order to do my job. Like,
mhm,
I need these things. And for me, after having another performance review about me, knowing how your managers feel about your presence, because we always get in that conversation. Professor Black Ops says it, about being a resource at a job. Well, they know you're a resource, and you mentioned it last week, Tamika, the cost to obtain an employee, how to on the cost to onboard them, a new employee, how much that costs. And they're like, we took all this time, energy, and effort in you. Now you want to leave. What did we do wrong? Like, I don't want to lose you, because you're a great resource, and your issues in performance is our fault.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? Being able, and that's what happens when you don't speak up for yourself, and you're just like, I'm not learning, I'm not doing, da da da. You got to shake that stuff up and go talk to some people.
yep. And KJ, I don't recommend you being passive as a person of color in tech at all. I don't recommend that at all. I don't recommend that you be passive at all, because just because your skill set show doesn't mean that someone is going to advocate for you. What I do recommend is a balance of being knowing when to speak up for yourself and knowing who you need to fight with.
And
Because
who you need to speak to.
yeah, 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 yeah. I don't recommend being passive at all, because many people have come into tech and shown their skill sets and still get overlooked. What I do recommend is you have a talk with not just your manager, but other managers on other teams. I also recommend that you go sit on other teams' sprints and look at their backlog and and what they have coming down the pipe. I also recommend that you look and ask questions to the CEO. A lot of people like, well, why would I talk to the CEO? And the question is, why would you not? A lot of CEOs are like, hey, get on my calendar. Email the CEO and have a conversation with the CEO. You just want to have a conversation about, hey, what do you see for future for the company? What are you looking at for the future of um, future work, um, leadership advice? That I mean that's just my own take. Every company that I have worked at, I've always talked to the CEO. That's I mean,
I got a passive colleague and he is overworked and I'm pretty sure underpaid. Like he is overworked. Like he won't say no to nothing. Now he'll disappear and he'll ignore you, but no, no. For your mental health.
Yeah, so for the next move and the next level, being passive doesn't get you there. For your next move and for your next level, going out and talking to managers and what the other managers and what the other teams are doing will get you there. Like going out and having a conversation and like on uh from the perspective of like where are they looking at in terms of customers, what is coming down the pipe. Your manager is not going to know everything, and it's not on your manager to know everything, so you are going to have to be assertive and maybe even sometimes aggressive in going out and getting that information for self in order to go to the next level. When they're looking for managers, they're not looking for passive people at all. I'm telling you from even when I interviewed with Twitch, Twitch was like, if somebody is on your team and you tell them something and they don't do it, you should fire them. And in fact, in some interviews I've been in, they was like, how would you fire a person? We need for you to fire them on the spot. We need for you to walk over to their desk and fire them. Like in interviews for leaders, some of the leadership interviews that I have been in, they ask you, how do you fire somebody? And you can't be passive firing somebody. That ain't how it works. They want to know, you got a job, are you going to execute it? How you going to execute it? Right? And I'm not saying you got to be a total ass. What I'm saying is they're being passive is not going to get you there. Being having empathy, it may be what you mean, but being passive is not going to get you there when you're talking about going to the next level and being in leadership roles. And it's company dependent, because from the top down it may be toxic, and from the bottom up it may be good, but it depends on who is in who's what type of environment is in there. What I have seen, none of the passive leaders stayed around very long. They got pushed out. No, and in fact, no one wanted to work with them. They didn't. Their voice never got heard. And I'm not telling you from, hey, Tamika's passive perspective. I'm telling you from, hey, I had conversations with managers who wanted to, like, hey, let's be kumbaya with everybody, and they ended up fired. They ended up being blackballed in the industry. And I'm simply telling you, being passive, not being aggressive, being passive doesn't lend very well in tech. Being smart, being strategic, having skills, knowing who to talk to, knowing how to move, understanding where the industry at, where the industry is going, depending on what you're doing and where you're at, gets you up to those levels in terms of leadership and networking, of course.
I
But
agree.
that those are the things that I have found, right? So for me, I'm all about get your skills up first, and understand the different streams of income the company is bringing in. What are the revenue streams that the company is making approaches in, so that you can be well equipped in the conversations. So when you sit down and talk to the sales team, when you sit down and talk to the marketing team, when you're talking to the solutions architect, when you're talking to the customer, internal and external, you have to understand the entire facet of what that customer needs and where the company is going. That gets you the leadership. That's not being passive, that's being smart. That's being strategic. That's understanding what it looks like in order to be a leader, because people are going to look at you and say, hey, he or she has what we're looking for. They're in the meetings, they're talking, they're listening to the customer, they're providing and breaking down what that can look like as a ROI for the company. We need that person in this position. I'm recommending that person. And sometimes it may not even be in that company. It may be somebody that's a customer that recognize you and they got a position open at their company that may pay more and have you pull from that company. It happens all the time. But again, it's just different things that you do as a person when you're talking about what it looks like to lead, and then lead your own projects, right? You don't have to lead projects at work. You can lead projects outside of work that help you get to understanding your leadership qualities and your leadership skills. There are books, there are mentors, there are things that you can do outside of just work in order to acquire these skills. And when we talk about leadership, leadership also comes with understanding the people that you are around, right? You got to understand your team. You got to understand the other leaders as well too, what their leadership style is as well too. And sometimes it may take you sitting back and maybe even going on a retreat, a leadership retreat, to understand, like, hey, how can I effectively talk to my team members? How can I effectively talk to other leaders? How can I pull what I need to pull from those leaders? We have to have those discussions. And you're not going to get those discussions by going to work every day and just putting your head down doing the work. And putting your head down doing the work and letting your skills show for you is not going to get you there. It's going to get you at a plateau, and you have to move up, and out in order to do that. Standing up and talking at conferences, being a SME, a subject matter expert in that, in whatever topic that you want to discuss, showing the ability to learn from others is important, and learning how to train others is important. Those are the things that we're looking for when we're talking about leadership. How can you take this team that doesn't know everything, and we got 15 projects coming down the pipe, and then how are we going to display, how are we going to disseminate this information to them and get everybody on board on what we need to do to accomplish this goal?
Right.
That's
And
it.
one thing that I want to piggyback off what you just said is also active listening is a skill. Like so many times we go into situations being reactive or defensive. Once you put those blockers down and you actively listen and you take notes, that's where the work comes in, because now you're able to, if you're open enough to pinpoint what the real issue is and speak to that issue and be clear and filter out the facts. Because so many times we are, and you know, don't get me wrong, sometimes stuff is personal. You be like, oh, I didn't took that personal. But how to go ahead and filter that and listen to what their issue is and being able to fix that issue and communicate that effectively. because so many times we are just on go. Is that okay? I didn't hear you, because sometimes it is misunderstanding. Like, communication is so important.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. You can't be passive, and you'll get railroaded, and you won't rise. Like, I don't consider myself passive at work, but I had a conversation with my program manager, and one of the team leads. She was like, "Yeah, I was talking to her, and she doesn't know who you are." And I'm just like, "Well, I don't know what to say about that, because I email her at least once a day, and I've sent her IM. So that might not be because I'm not memorable. It might because she gets a lot of communications, and there's a lot of people on this team,
Mm-hmm.
onshore and offshore. So I'm not about to take that personal.
Yep. And so I'm gonna give you two different perspectives. Working at a startup. Working at a startup is you see a problem, you fix it. I don't care what it is that you feel like you're gonna fail at. Fix, show some interest, do it, fail, reiterate over the failure. That's what I'm seeing at a startup. On the government side is let's take our time, let's do it right. If we fail, everybody is gonna look at you crazy and then go from there. Now, on outside of government, in a company, say like an I don't know, like a maybe like an IBM or VMware, not on their federal side. What I see is it is more hey, we need to get this done. What are the steps we're going to take? Do you have all the pieces? Let's start. Let's get an MVP, and then let's go from there. So similar to a startup, but with a startup is we know you're gonna possibly fail. Iterate on the failure, fix it, and come back. And now teach others what you've done. Now let's iterate and collaborate over that, because now we have a starting point on where in which we needed to start. So that's what I'm usually seeing. Um, and Kenjay, this total opposite for me. Most of the toxic managers have been white. I I only had one black manager in 20 years, so yeah, most of the
Yeah,
managers,
same for me.
yeah,
White women, especially white women.
most of the managers I have been white. They have not
Yeah,
been black.
yeah.
And this is including me living in the DMV. So I had one black manager there, and the rest were all white. So yeah, they've all been white. So no offense, but yeah, that's just me.
And I think some of the I think some of the issues that I'm having now, it's not, it's cultural. You
Yeah,
know,
some of it can be cultural,
it's definitely cultural on,
how they work versus how
how
you.
they work, and how they you know revere respect and hierarchy and things of that nature. Like, it's amazing to see that play out in a company in another country.
Mm.
And it's weird, and it's just like, man, that wasted a lot of time. It's easy, or you tell somebody one thing, and how they receive that, and how they filter that information, where you have to say, no, that's not what I said. I said this, and this how is how I'm going to communicate that.
Yeah, Mr. Austin, you said that was an obstacle for you as a young manager with older employees. Was it communication? I'm not sure which part you were referring to when we were talking on that one. Yep. And some people are more analytical side. Yeah, and let's be real about this. Some people don't want to be in leadership. Some people
No.
don't. Some people are not. Leadership is just not their thing. Some people will tell you, "I don't want to be a leader," but they want me in this position, and they don't have nobody else to put in this position. So it happens that way. So you have to understand that some people really don't even want to be there. They're just put in those positions. So you have to ask yourself, like, man, is this gonna be something I want to do, right? and what are my skills that I need to have in order to do that, right? So you that's something that you really have to take on. Like if they want you to be a leader in that in a position, you have to ask yourself, what does that look like? What do you who are your team members that you have to lead? What does the position entail? Um, it's all of that is a part of it, right? Yeah, communication and respect took a lot of patience and grace. Yeah, it takes a lot of patience and grace. Yeah. And it also takes on the other side of that, um th- that that you have to have as well too. um you said white people have a certain code they live by, they follow the rules. That tends to clash with some of us people of color are more rebellious in pursuit of fast investment. I seen that total opposite. I seen that black people play by the rules when it comes to being in tech. They're going to tend to follow the rules. They're not going to rebel.
They're
They're
not gonna color out the line.
Nope, they're not gonna color out the line. They're gonna be complacent. And what I seen for white people, there are no rules. We don't follow those rules. And again, I'm coming from startups. I'm coming from people forming companies and taking them to the next level. And then I'm also coming from a federal side. So, and also working with people who don't even have a company yet and they're forming their company, but they got a lot of money behind them. The rules that they play by is totally different. And I'm saying it to you from a perspective of, so when you get in the room, you're not over there like, well, could I work for you? What could I do? I'm telling you, when I do interviews with people, when I am interviewing people, I have had people in interviews tell me, look, I am already qualified for this job. You don't need to look any further. So when you gonna make me the offer? In an interview. And then when I go interview us, we're like, well, we're again, I don't want to say we're too nice because that's not what the thing I want to put out there. I'm just going to say that the idea of being assertive in your interview, not being cocky, not being an ass, may not hurt. Having a vote of confidence in an interview just may not hurt you. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, I just had a meeting where again, it's that performance review is when I was chosen to be on this team. One of the things that stuck out to me in my mind was that she said, "We knew you were going to push back when it came to working with outside vendors on what needs to get done." And I was just like, I wonder what went on in the conversation where they felt that I would be an advocate for what we need as a team, because that's what it is. Because it's not the best friend game. Like, it's not to go to work to be friends, it's to go to work to get stuff done,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, that was interesting. And it was just like, I at first I was like, what does that mean? You want to go dissect it, but in the scope of my job, I was like, it makes sense because I do that. I'm like, so you got anything? Got an update? When are we going to see one? Like, because in this, if you are working in tech, so it's you have to 9 times out of 10 you're looking for a solution for a problem, and sometimes that solution takes time to research, to recreate first the issue, to find a solution, and to then draw a fix.
Mm-hmm. You tried to like the video again. Black people play by the rules. I watch co-workers not work, then complain people aren't being social with them. This is an issue where I've asked, where did all the adults go? I'm telling you, we play by the rules. We're gonna be on work on time. We're gonna do this. We're gonna go strictly by the book. And so what I've seen is it gets us not promoted. It gets us not looked at and as leadership. It gets us looked at as not being qualified to be leaders because you're gonna play by the book. Every engineer, manager, VP, CEO that I talk to, there's like, no, we like you because you don't play by the book. You get in there, you know it need to get done. You pull from different things. You do X, Y, and Z. We know you gonna get it done. We know you're gonna move and shift things. It's the playing by the rules. There's no rules. It's get it done. That's the thing. That's what I crack up. It's get it done. It's no rules. It's get it done. Right? Is you can play that pecking order if you want, or like and let me be clear. When I talk to my manager, he's like, so what are your plans for this project? What are you gonna do with this? Write it up, send it over. If that's your plan, I'm rolling with it. I'm not gonna review and tell you no. You gonna figure out the failures and then go from there. He enables you to say, hey, this is what we're gonna do. He's like, you the senior, you do it. And we fall in line with what you're doing. That's usually what I'm seeing. On the other end, nah. Even the company culture and assimilating. I think Samsia had a question. Are there cultural nuances to work life balance? Um, I guess there could be. I can give you what I've seen from people that like the one of the companies that I work with. There was at least 7 couples that worked at the company, husband and wife. They worked at the company, and their thing was, hey, again, depending on the age of the couple, hey, we're getting ready to go on this trip, or hey, we're going fishing, or hey, we're doing this, or we're going hiking, and maybe one or two of the couples would get together and they would go over each other's house and eat, or maybe it's been notorious where we would leave work and go meet everybody at the company would go and meet up for drinks, and their wives would come, or we have a picnic and everybody bring their kids or their dogs or what have you to the picnic at in the parking lot at the company or what have you. Uh, it's been uh, hey, I'm not a fan of this. Hey, we got one coming up. Let's go hiking. And maybe not, but I have gone out to with a group of people, and we went out to shoot guns. Like, oh, here's a automatic rifle, here's a shotgun, here's a nine. This is how you load it. This is how you shoot. Here's how to aim for the targets. This is how you set your feet. Here's the recommendations we have for you for X, Y, and Z. Um, Here's what you need to be looking out for. Like, it depends on who the vibe of the people. Some people you click with, some people you don't click with. Some people you want to get to know a little more. Some people you just were like, we good at work. I'm cool, right? It was some people I've gone shopping with. We've gone shopping together or something like that. So it depends, right?
You
Um,
know what I think? That stuff is it's all relative. Of
right,
course there's going to be some cultural differences just based on socialization. I can tell culturally the difference between me and my Indian coworkers. I can tell the difference by the ones that are here and then overseas. It is I can tell by how we communicate, like, you know, as far as for understanding or just getting a task done. They are very, I'm just going to check this task off, and they don't really, and it's really surface. They're not going to dig into the why. They're going to wait. Like, a lot of those issues come because they don't ask the right questions. That's how I know asking questions is important. Speaking up, and they're very passive people. I I rarely hear no. It is always they answer with a yes and then tell you why it's not done. Like it's just culturally what they do because they're acknowledging what you said, which is yes, I hear you, and then they'll say what's wrong, but there's really never like it's my fault. I am working on it or I don't know. It's always they have to go ask somebody or they're working on it or they're waiting for something. They rarely say they've been defeated. But I've seen specific managers say that's not why is this happening? This is not okay. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to that, yes, it's culturally, but it's also relative because what people want is different. So I might say I got to be out of here. I want to work 7 to 3, and I got to be out of here. I'm not gonna do A. I'm not gonna go to your hikes. I'm not gonna do that. And then there's other people like I'm all in everything, and I don't think that going to a couple of company events and seeing what's going on. I don't necessarily think that's assimilating. I think that's just your job. Like this is what they do. This is the vibe that they want going on, and you can go peek into certain things that you want, and then others that you don't. It's relative.
Yeah. Um, Kenja, you say playing by the rules. I mean, falling in line with the company culture and assimilating. We tend to live on the outskirts of company culture because we're the minority. I think it's company dependent, right? When we say that, and when I say company dependent, I'm also talking about the size of the company. Because you could be working in a company that has 20 people, you could be working in a company that has 5 people, you could be working in a company that has 2,000 people or 100 people. So it really depends on the size as well too, because you coming in, you drive that culture. Like I've been on a team, it's been a team of 20 of us, but it's been really a core of 8 of us that actually stuck together, and we drove what the direction of what the company itself was going after, as well as having the ability to also drive the team as well too. So it depends on the size, and it also depends on the trust you have with your team members. And trust comes in many forms. It could be a trust of you're going to get the job done, or it could be the trust of you're not really going to get the job done, but we know you're really good at this over here, so we're going to steer you to that over there.
Hmm.
Right? It's not a push you out the way. It's just playing to who you are. Like
Right. Or
what
that particular person is going
right,
to communicate their needs with you, and that it has a certain level of honesty. You got your work buddy all the time. Like,
right, right,
what do you think about this?
right. You know,
How's this gonna work?
and then there is and then there are in certain instances for me where most of the time I get pulled aside, and I get pulled aside to say we're leaning on you to do X, Y, and Z. We need for you to do X, Y, and Z. I'm holding you accountable to do this and to bring this home for us. What can we equip you with in order to make that happen? And that comes from me talking to the owners and the CEOs of companies. That is me talking to the CIOs of companies. That is, hey, we're sending you over here. We want you to talk to this customer, make it happen, bring it home. And they're not sending you over there to play footsies with them. It is get the information that we need, provide value to that customer, come back with what the game plan is, have that worked out, give us a turnaround date on when you think that's going to be accomplished, and who you're going to get on your team to work with it and get that job done. And what do you need from us in order to do it? We need more people, or do we need more money? And I'm simply giving it you from what I've experienced. Everybody has their own experience. And this is not in one company that I get this in. It is several companies that I've been in. We're looking for you to do X, Y, and Z. How are you going to do it? So I can't be, mm, well, no, make a decision. We going this route or not? And if we not going this route, let that particular vendor know we're not going that route. Give us another recommendation. Have them queued up. Have us interview them. Why you want to do it, and then let's move on because we don't have time to waste.
Right. And then the company also is positioned as the obvious expert. They hired you for your expertise. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to be go in and being able to facilitate what's going on, lead that project and ask the right questions because that's what you are there for. You're a representation of the company. You are the expert. So when you go in as the obvious expert, nothing's less. All that other stuff is out the window.
Hey, MM is already always welcome to come up. I'm not saying it's my show. MM says, always signing her own praises, ego off the scale. It's my show.
But you know what? Some people just show up to troll, and it's cool. I mean, if that's the
It's
role
my
ML
show, but
wants to
I'm just
play,
giving you what happens in from my perspective and my experience and
and
what
that's
I
all,
have
and that's and
seen.
that's and that's all you can do. But it's also to say this is what I've seen, so I know it's possible because
Right, right, right,
I
right,
have a
right.
first person accounting of what's going on in the industry that we are um speaking about. So
And as group say, "Oh, here he go again." He or she, hey D, drop the link. This is strictly for you. In fact, you don't even have to show your face, but it would be nice to show your face because I show you my face. But if you're more than welcome to come up. I still haven't. We haven't even started the show. We hadn't even started the show. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was also, is it ego or is it facts? These are just facts of things that have happened. These are things that have happened. Like I'm not afraid to share. I could be silent and not tell you nothing and not tell you how I seen people operate. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I wanted
that wouldn't be our mission.
to. You're right.
Cue
Um,
the mission. Like pull up the mission. You know, cueing the mission.
like
Um,
yeah, Mr. Austin, you also stated, gotta have that energy that communicates, you already got the job. This interview is just a formality for the books. And I get that. But the way that person was saying in there, like, yo, you ain't gotta interview nobody else. Like, no, you didn't really do a good job in this interview. So we
right,
not gonna move forward with you.
right. And then
uh
it's funny what people look like in the interview. Like you can have a panel of 5 people interviewing one person, and each person on that panel will definitely give, unless it's written out on a little piece of paper that you have in the questions you're supposed to be answering, people get their own feels. Like people get the way I vibe with a candidate might be different the way Tam vibes with a candidate.
mm, Um, done it. I want to make sure, is it load or loud? I'll make sure I'm seeing that. I'm probably seeing that wrong, and I apologize. Good afternoon. All I have found that in my former career, people of color are labeled arrogant and passed over, but those who were unqualified were promoted, even though they were not even qualified. Yeah, because they had a network. They probably networked and they got that position. Right. It's usually what I've seen as well too. You're speaking in general, confidence and assertiveness needed. Yep, that interview you spoke about was what? Yeah, 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 yeah. That was whack. Cynthia said, "Let's be honest. This conversation needs to be had." Yep, this is how we get to the. Yeah, I'm telling you, from the inside track. So what I did was I did just a quick search, and this one right here is the VP of Game Technology. It's a blockchain and NFT company. This was posted 3 hours ago. and it's the VP of Game Technology. And let's go look at what they're requiring, skill set wise, right? They got the manage. Oh, I got to share my screen, huh? Let me do that. Do 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 do. All right. We have um, let's see. Let's name this company. The name is called Planet Quest. All right. All right. So here we go. Do you pull that up from? All right. Manage the development plan, and that may be a little small. Let me blow it up some. All right. All right. Manage the development plan, schedule, and process for multiple simultaneous projects, including task, resources, quality, time, priorities, and costs. Establish engineering best practices that allow the team to achieve assigned projects. Identify process improvement programs to gain efficiencies, costs being reiterate over and over again, right? Looking, I don't want to say seeking perfection, but but seeking a good SLA, if we want to look at that from that way. Collaborate and manage partnerships with technical partners. This is super huge right here because again, you're always going to be talking to people. You're going to always be managing the projects, what they have coming down the pipeline that you need to be mindful of. Is that going to need more resources? Are you going to need a different type of set of resources? Are you going to need people? What does that look like, right? So that's something that you got to be mindful of. Share knowledge internally. Don't be a hoarder of the knowledge. Share so we can grow, so we can all learn. Apply lessons learned by other teams. Again, those failures, those successes, collaboration with other teams on things that they discovered or whatnot. Be the single contact for discipline at the project level, including working with essential external partners. And they gave some external partners that they're currently working with. Manage people and career development for leads. What are the lead? What qualifications are you looking for? Ensuring there is a craft leadership for wider engineering teams. What's the track, right? When you go to these companies and you're looking for leadership, what's the leadership track? Is there support for leadership? Is there training for leadership? They're seeking outside sources. If they don't provide it, where you go to seek those outside sources? Where do you go to seek that leadership, right? We have to be looking at this. Okay, you got the skills, you worked in the industry for a while. How do you go into leadership and stay technical? Because some people want to stay technical. How do you go into leadership and maybe not even be technical anymore? Maybe you're leading people. Maybe you're working towards being a VP. Maybe you're working towards being a CEO or CTO. What does that path look like for you? All right. And so we have to be mindful of, like, we don't have to just stay in a position. And I often have this problem. Um, and I brought this up before. In certain aspects, and I've seen it and I know that it's happened, your leader may not know every technical aspect of the positions that they're hiring for. In other words, they may not have any skill sets whatsoever in, say, for instance, Terraform, or they don't even have any skill sets in any type of cloud. They know it exists, but they've never had it. They would still be your manager. They would still be your directors. They would still be potentially your VP of engineering, because they're looking for you to lead. They're not looking at you for the technical aspect. They're looking at you from the leadership aspect. And if it's a win-win if you got the technical side. So I'm just showing you certain things that can happen. Um, so what do they want? Um, 3 years of software development, engineering management positions, Hands-on software development roles. You develop and scale test automation systems. You have gathered and refined use cases and turned them into requirements and designs. Anybody know what a design doc is? Has anybody ever created a design doc? Do you know what that is? um, to put a one in the comment in the comment section if you know, in the chat, if you know what a design doc is. Have you ever created one? Have you ever been asked to do one? And if you have created one, what did you learn from that? um, you have developed and scaled test automations. You have gathered and refined use cases and turned them into requirements and designs. Experience with Agile and Scrum, knowing how to connect between iterative process and high level programs and milestone. A broad range of experience with web and mobile game development. Again, this was posted 3 hours ago. What you can expect from us: industry competitive remuneration, ability to work for fully remote with a robust system in place for remote workforce management, being a part of a high caliber team with proven industry, chance to be a part of a revolutionary blockchain gaming project, and extremely fast paced. This right here is extremely fast paced. That's important to you because again, fail fast, and try again, right? That's what we want, right? Um, see, there was one more that I did want to talk about. Um, it is Total GI. It was something that I had found. Let me look here. It's not that one. Here it is, right here. Right. Um, this is one I was talking about on the last show. A cloud solutions architect, remote. It's not remote from New York. It could be, but I think it's remote from anywhere. 400,000. All right, let's go look at what they're looking for. What you will be doing is taking technical sales call, presenting technical architecture, and addressing the technical questions and concerns that a prospect has about adopting Total GI or Total G, which are beyond the scope of sales calls. Proof of concept, right? Being able to create and show a proof of concept, scoping, designing, executing demonstrations that show how integrations will occur to the cloud, charging from on-prem 4G systems to 5G systems, right? Collateral creation, creating technical sales collateral like slides, white papers, blogs, podcasts that demonstrate expertise and establish the author and the company as thought leaders. This is important, and technical experts. So understanding how to create a white paper. What does it take to create a white paper? What does it take to create to get on a call and do a demo? Can you lead a demo? Can you lead and turn around and turn it in that sale into something that they get? These are the just things that I'm talking about. So you're gonna have to know what you need to know, but you're also gonna have to know the customer, and you're gonna have to know their needs and possibly their future needs as well too, right? Things they haven't thought about, things, and also you may even have to even look at what skill sets do they have in the company in order to lead that, right? In order to have that. Um, Another one is what you won't be doing is responding to RFPs and RFIs, wasting time on administrative paperwork, patchwork, identifying or qualifying leads. You will spend your time working with serious customers. Like we're not going out here to ask you to source leads. You're going to be working with customers. Managing implementations. You will run proof of concepts that have clear exit criteria and transition the successful ones to professional services post sale. What are we looking for from you? We want you to have cloud experience with designing AWS, GCP, and Azure. That's why I say you're going to need to be on all three clouds on some of these positions. All three clouds is going to be your thing. The next one is 5 years of experience of making important technical decisions for enterprise products. Um, 2 year of customer facing experience of leading and consulting or in pre-sales, 2 years of experience in writing production quality code, and that code might be just uh, Terraform and deploying applications, and it may be an app they may already have, right? High energy, confidence and inspiring presentation skills. Let's get into this right here. This line right here. D, can you pull this up? High energy, confidence inspiring presentation skills. All right. What does that sound like to you? Put in the chat what that sound like to you. High energy, confidence inspiring presentation skills. Right? What does that sound like to you? Engineering cannabis, you were saying mixture of AI and blockchain. That's nice. Oh, for that job. Yep. I heard a lot about how valuable security clearances are to companies. How much of an edge does that give you? It depends on what they're going after. Depends on what project they're gonna work on. We just heard was it 600 trillion or 600 billion that's coming out for uh, 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 spending, government spending on tech and stuff. I've personally written a few and peer reviewed a few. Typically, they're designing a software system. The design doc is a living document. It is a living document. It could change at any point in time, and it doesn't have to just be software. It could be a solution to how are we going to create secure containers? How are we going to deploy Jenkins into Azure? And what are the things that we're going to need? What are the plugins that we're going to need? And why do we need those plugins? And who's going to use them? And what is the benefit of those? It could be that. Miss Graves says it sounds like some BS. Nah, it is more or less like when you're presenting, like you've heard what the customer said, you've gotten together with what they needed, you designed something, you put together this presentation, and that presentation doesn't necessarily always have to be a slide deck. It could be a demo included in that slide deck where you did a pre-recording and you recorded it and included in there. It could be a number of things, right? And the high energy meaning like if you're not enthusiastic about this solution, and I'm trying to give you my money as the customer, why in the hell would I be enthusiastic about the solution as a customer, right? So it's just those are just some of the things. Top tier language and top tier English language and oral written communication, the ability to take a technical topic and write 1,000 words that are accurate and interesting. The ability to work remotely, covering one of the regional time zones, the Americans, EMEA, and APAC, and the ability to travel internationally. Do you have your passport? Do you have your passport? Flexibility to join calls occasionally outside of your 9 to 5. That's where that 400 come in at, right? So they want an AWS solution architect working with telcos because they're working with 4G and 5G, probably edge computing, probably IoT devices with this influencing in one or more languages if possible. So, do I like this job? I think the job could be stressful. I think that job could be stressful. Do I think you could do the work? Absolutely, especially if you're going to be able to have the ability to travel internationally. Um, so working with crossover. All right, here it goes. The compensation level for this is $200 an hour, which equates to $400, 400,000 a year, 40 hours per week, and 50 hours per year, 50 weeks per year. The payment period is weekly. So this is a contract role. You was receive an email with a link to start your self-paced online application on the hiring platform. Will guide you through a series of online screening assessments for a basic job fit, job related skills, and finally a few that could be They could say two or three, but that may be three or four. Real world specific assignments. The first emails take up to 15 minutes to send. The second, check your spam, blah, 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 this, that, and other. But 200 an hour. So you can go on your company name for this and do it. They only give you 50 weeks per year. So they only giving you 2 weeks off. Yeah, right. If you want to do that. Any VPs in here? It says go to the 80K Python developer job. That's where the money is. All right. So yeah. So that gives you an idea of what that is at 400,000. Right. But there are more jobs out there. I just want to show jobs on leadership. Right. I want to talk about some leadership. What does that look like? So let's get in. Let's finish off our intro because we didn't do that. We didn't finish off that, D. I can't hear you, D. I can't hear you.
I said I think we're past that.
We'll pass that. All
Yeah,
right.
we're way past that. It's almost 4 o'clock
Yeah.
here. Like we're past the intro.
Hold on. Now.
For
If you want to
women,
connect, now let me finish.
women in
If you
Linux.
want to connect with us, drop into our Slack and connect with in our Slack where I actually post jobs. Various people post jobs. There's several channels in there. I posted some training information this morning. There was there was let me close this one. There was a new course that came out from Free Code Camp. Oh no, it wasn't Free Code Camp. It was this one. Let me pull this over. Metaverse. This one, I follow this guy too. How to code a metaverse step by step. This is a full course. It came out this morning, so you can check that out. There's also from Free Code Camp here. You can see here Solidity in 2 hours. Build your first blockchain app on Ethereum and smart contracts. Here's blockchain development as well too. The guy from Let's Get Rusty just released some stuff as well too, so I'll be going and reviewing that for tomorrow's class, and we'll continue with our stuff tomorrow. For Rust, I am still looking. I have to look at Solidity some, so I'll probably go here and look at Solidity a little bit more and start, and eventually probably I would like to start doing smart contracts. See, this is I would like to start doing smart contracts in April, and so forth. All right, so yep, you dropped it down here to connect with us in Slack and donate with us. You don't have to donate with your money; you can donate with your time and go from there. All right, so D, why you're not sharing the screen? What's going on? What happened? Are you frozen, D? When we're gonna drop D down because she's frozen. I'm asking you questions. You ain't said nothing.
Because I might be frozen. I've just got a page, a message that said page unresponsive, and I'm going to click wait.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Hold on, let me try this again.
You
Bam.
say you do know some of these job descriptions are not true. They could be. You won't know until you apply, right? Casual economy. Like, we still in the intro. We ain't even got to the stuff yet, right?
It's
So
over.
so Kenjay, if you want directors and VPs, they are in the Slack channel. Brian Lyles is in there. Amy Rich is in there. There are a slew of others that are in there. Steve Carter.
We got a whole company that it's just got 20 million in there. I mean,
Yeah. Yep. Steve Carter. This is the guy I used to work with, and we've interviewed him on our show. Not on our show, in our meetup. Actually, he came
right. And
to
we
our
know
meetup.
Steve in real life. Like he's a friend.
Yep, yep. So cybersecurity startup closes at 20 million in the Series B. I remember when Steve was working on this. Cyber
Shout out to Steve. Good job.
is a huge space, but vulnerability management within the cyber hasn't changed. Steve Carter, Nucleus Security CEO and co-founder. I remember when he started this as well. I'll probably reach out to Steve here shortly uh, to talk to him because I always, if somebody needs some cyber something like a pen test or something like that, I usually shoot Steve the work, and we go from there. So yeah, so we're always looking to highlight folks, especially people that we know, right?
I mean, that's
Steve,
the purpose of the network. That's the
yeah, Steve is
purpose.
a nice guy,
But
right?
also to know that people are doing this and people that you can touch. You can actually
Hmm.
touch these people. These are not mythical people. They're not unicorn. They're everyday people, dads, husbands,
Yep.
wives, daughters.
Yeah, Steve and I and gosh, what is, I call him Nixon. We were all at work when the buzz was going on about Bitcoin, and we all went in and bought some Bitcoin when it
Oh
was,
yeah, you had me at all type of Bitcoin meetups,
yeah, we was when it was,
crypto meetups, and
yeah,
this was
when,
years ago.
yeah, when it was $25, and then we bought miners and we were mining, and then he was showing his son, who was 5 at the time, how to write Python and PHP, and he was making web apps. He still mines to this day. He has his own YouTube channel where he talks about Python with kids, and he shows kids how to do Python and so forth. So this is 2011. So this is a long time ago. That in the long time ago days. Where's Eminem? Where's my hater at? He's not in the comments, or she. Where's my hater at? Oh man. Let me talk about my ego here. Let me do it. All right, but yeah, the company was bootstrapped until it closed 3.4 million in the Series A in February of 2021, led by Minneapolis based Arthur Ventures. It was primarily used for hiring. The latest funding was led by Eagle Capital, stood out among the dozens. And you got to understand why this is important, because of the relationship of for this particular product has with Amazon. Is it Amazon? It may not be Amazon. Hold on, I'll get to it in a minute. Let's go down here. Because of the partnership with, let's see. Cardinals Nucleus is under the radar company and attributes it to partially to having no Florida clients in his roster. Instead, he has international focus accounts with Toyota, Qantas Airline, and National Australia Bank. I know how you got this one. That one come from Brian from over at No Before. So I don't know if you all are familiar with No Before, right? Security or wellness. They IPO'd last year. Yep. Here's their IPO for no before. 1,000 employees. Their CISO and Steve and I all work together. We're all friends with each other. So if you're looking for work in the cyberspace, No Before is based out of Clearwater. If you want to get with them, that's the extra. All right, so the company now has 48 employees, aiming to hit 75 by the end of the year. Carter has no plans to pursue a Series C in the near future. Most profitability will come from securing large contracts, which with its latest expansion into the defense area. Yeah, he was like, defense was so slow. He was like, man, defense is so slow. It's hard, because they don't see the value until somebody outside of the in the commercial space sees value, and then they adopt. Um, right. Keeping our options on the table. So what I mentioned this, I don't think this one mentions it. Let me see, man. See, they don't mention it in here. Okay, so one of the big things is, do you all know? Remember this? This just happened. Mandrix. Uh, bought. Yeah, this right here. So Google to acquire Mandarin, right? We talked about this a while ago for 5.4 billion. And Nucleus and Mandiant, I guess you could say Mandiant, uh, also have a partnership together. That's why this is important because, again, this just that partnership opens up doors, and I'm sure Carter and them are probably AWS partners because I think they have their stuff in AWS as a deployment for in AWS. So this opens up doors. That relationship opens up doors for them, for somebody like a Google to see them, for someone like a Amazon to see them, right? And now being able maybe acquire her, maybe somebody comes in offers them that 1 billion, 2 billion, or 3 billion on the federal side of house to have a federal product, that they can shape and mold and actually speak directly to them. So that is a play. I haven't talked to them, but I could see it, as what it looks like. And it's funny because it started in the federal space, and somebody didn't want it, but I'm not gonna say no names because I'm still friends with that person. And now it's taken off into this only to come back into it. So it's kind of like a back door into it, when it comes to it. So, just a little idea of that, right? What that could look like. All right. So I mentioned leadership, and we talked about James D. White. I pulled up his book, here, Anti-Racist Leadership: How to Transform the Corporate World. I mean, the corporate culture in a race-conscious world. Here we go, building anti-racist companies. He is a former CEO of Jumbo Juice. You can go check him out, and go from there. Um, and I probably get this book, probably get it delivered, and probably we need to get it started on our book club. But so many books that we need to read. All right. So another thing, Vidar spyware is now hidden in Microsoft help files. The malware is being spread through an interesting phishing tactic. Vidar malware has been detected in a new phishing campaign that abuses Microsoft HTML files. On Thursday, TrustWave cybersecurity researcher, Diana, uh, Diana Lopriera, said that the spyware is being concealed in Microsoft compiled HTML help or CHM files to avoid detections by spam email campaigns. It says that the spyware and information still are available for purchase for cyber criminals. Vidar can harvest OS and user data and online servers and cryptocurrencies account credentials and credit card information. While often deployed through spam and phishing campaigns, researchers have also spotted C++ malware being distributed through a pay per install private loader dropper and the Fallout exploit kit. And they go on to show it here. They said TrustWave, according to Trustwave, the email campaign distributing Vidar is far from sophisticated. The email contains a generic subject line and attachment called request, dot dot, and which is usually an ISO disk image. The ISO contains two files: Microsoft compiled HTML and the executable app.exe. The CHM format is a Microsoft Online extension file for accessing documentation for help files and compressed HTML files. So basically, they're hiding it in the HTML files, right? Um, this one here, load this up. Using a laptop, an encryption code designed to prevent quantum computer attack was cracked in 53 hours. Right? The tech institutions were trying to find ways to guarantee security as a new processing system as new processing systems become increasingly sophisticated. Security is an age when quantum computing is about to explode, and one of the major concerns for all the protection systems worldwide. Um, the National Institute of, or NIST, wanted to put 7 encryption formulas to test in order to determine the vulnerability to new processing system. War Bullions from IBM Research Center in Zurich, and there's one in New York, managed to crack an encrypted code in just 53 hours with a simple laptop. Right? So if AES 256 gets hacked, we're doomed. But there, what I'm hearing rumblings and won't happen. But I don't know, right? I don't know. Let me see. There was another quantum thing that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I didn't talk about it. But I can talk about it here since we're on quantum now. And let me pull that over. That's from the show early. My show notes from earlier. Let me grab this now. Hey D, can you switch me? Can you switch screens for me? Make my web screen bigger. Hey. All right. Microsoft looks to dominate the quantum computing industry. All right. Um, and sidebar, did anybody go to NVIDIA's talks this week? Did anybody else go to the SANS.org's talk? Is the HBCU talk. I spoke there. There was a couple of other panelists and a couple other people actually spoke. Several other people spoke as well too. All right, Microsoft recently announced that its quantum computing research team have invented a new kind of qubit based on elusive, never before demonstrated properties of physics. According to the Redmond Company, this will allow it to build scalable quantum computers capable of solving the hardest problems facing humanity. So is this a breakthrough for the field or just an attempt to lean in to marketing surrounding quantum computing? To sort out the answer, we'll need to take a look at Microsoft Computing quantum computing department and its history. So let's go take a look here. I hate when it's doing that. All right, we'll grab that and I'll cut it off. Oops, it didn't grab it. All right, no problem. We'll grab this. MSFT Quantum Computing Department. All right, so that's IBM, Microsoft Overview, Microsoft Quantum Computing, Microsoft Research. All right. All right. So this is their quantum computing, Azure Quantum Developer Workshop, Azure Quantum Program website. Let's click on that. Get to know the world's full stack open quantum computing ecosystem. Here's learning right here. Grow your quantum computing skills. Start learning. Here's Azure Quantum Optimization and the quantum computing, and they have a whole development kit in as well. We'll talk about more about quantum computing. Here's the actual solutions, and then they got a university curriculum as well too. All right. Let's see. When I click on that, nothing changes. Looks like it's here. Microsoft Learn. Here's the documentation. Here's the open source library. Here it is right here. Apply to join if you're a researcher or what have you. Thought leaders, educators, solution partners. You can get access to their quantum computer. Which I'm pretty sure University of Washington had one. But again, this is just again talking about what you can do. There are different platforms you can go learn about quantum computing as well too, right? Yep, it was saying.org. Let me see, Microsoft. All right. Yep, they're going tit for tat. Honeywell has a quantum computer as well too. Let's look at this here real quick. It's only a minute.
The power of one qubit. times 1 million. The potential to solve the world's most complex challenges. Achieving millions requires a design that is scalable, protected, and reliable. We've harnessed that potential. The Majorana, a near century old theory. Until now. Moving beyond the experimental stage, we've engineered topological devices with the power to control a new phase of matter. Bringing Majoranas together, we've unlocked the first step, one topological leap towards a million qubits. Developing a full stack solution and the birth of unlimited potential.
All right, that's Azure Quantum, and that goes along with what we were just talking about. In case you want to know what a qubit was, I spelled it wrong. Let's go with what Wikipedia says. All right, a qubit or quantum bit is the basic unit of quantum information. The quantum version, the quantum version of the classic binary bit, physically realized with a two-state device. It could be a qubit could be a zero and a one, versus in binary it's zero or one. And that's what they get into here. Trying to see if they start talking about entanglement. Let's see, entanglement for quantum, right? Right here. All right, so here they talk about quantum entanglement is a physical phenomenon that occurs when a group of particles are generated, interact, or share spatial proximity in a way such that quantum state of each particle or group cannot be described independently of the state of others, including when the particles are separated by a large distance. The topic of quantum entanglement is at the heart of the disparity between classical and quantum physics. Entanglement is a primary feature of quantum mechanics lacking in the classical mechanics, right? So let me pull up some images here when they start talking about it here. So this is when they start talking about the spin, right? I can go on with this, but I actually got somebody that's coming in to talk about this. All right, so here we're talking about a parent particle, then your daughter particles, and then there's what they're saying is if I'm in the proximity of these particles, and I'm trying to determine what this particle is, those particles outside of that are going to help me determine whether that is in a zero or a one or both. And it's like it says, here we go right here. Let's talk about it. So, how can quantum entanglement be used? Several applications take advantage of this unique physical property that would change our present and future. Entanglement can enable quantum cryptography, super dense coding, maybe faster than speed of light communication, and even teleportation. There was a thing back in the day where they teleported a penny, like part of a penny. It was a while ago. Oh God, it was long ago. Teleport. Uh, yeah, teleport a penny. Right. It was old. 2015. Yeah, quantum teleportation. Let me go back over here. Quantum teleportation achieved a on a microchip the size of a penny. Room size optical electronics condensed to the size of a silicon chip are the first step in tangible quantum computing. And they was talking about how they transferred that in this article. And that was back in 2015. It wasn't much. And then we get into cryptography when we're talking about quantum. The new, I talked about this before, the Mercedes uh, EQS, um, and how electronic the EV systems and quantum computing are meeting as well too. Um, this is right here. We talk about this. Let me go down here. See how Mercedes Benz is using quantum computers, and I talked about this before. See how Mercedes Benz is using quantum computers to design better batteries. I won't go long on this, but you get the idea here. And I showed this before.
Mercedes Benz has been moving people and goods around the planet for over 130 years now. Every day we ask ourselves, how can we bring the future into reality? This is at the heart of who we are, and this can only be achieved by continuously innovating. Right now, our industry is in a transition to a new age. It's time to reduce our impact on the planet. Our goal is for the entire Mercedes-Benz vehicle fleet to be carbon neutral by 2039. That means implementing electric driving in all divisions as a priority. For that, we need to focus on next generation battery technology. The thing that has always held battery technology back, and this will sound strange, is that we don't really know what goes on inside of batteries. This thing is a mystery. Sure, we know how to make batteries, but we can't actually see what's happening at a molecular level inside the battery while it's working. A battery is more like a complex ecosystem than a machine that spits out electricity. It's chaos in there. And to make things even harder, there isn't a supercomputer on the planet right now that could accurately simulate what's going on in there either. Simulating this at the molecular level of detail involves accounting for a tremendous number of electron interactions, each electron influencing the other in complex ways. Accurately simulating electron interactions in the simplest molecules takes many days on the most powerful supercomputers on the planet.
Yeah. So I ain't gonna bore y'all with that. I just wanted you to have it, the information on what's going on. Again, when you start looking at, as we talked earlier, the data centers that are being built, you also need to look at what's going into those data centers. What applications and stuff. Oh, that wasn't boring at all. Oh, okay, I don't want to bore you all. Like I can geek out over this stuff forever. Like I can geek out on this forever. Um, there's more. I can do more on quantum computing if you want to, because I have a whole. I probably got like 20 pages of notes that I put aside on the quantum computing, and what's going on in the field. And I'm telling you, because Tesla just announced their quantum computer. So we need to be looking at what they're doing, because again, we're talking about just a battery. You can imagine what's going on inside the battery in an EV car. Why IBM and Mercedes are looking at that. Now think about what that's going to look like for Porsche and Volkswagen. And I would not be surprised if at some point in there somebody from Volkswagen gets a quantum computer as we move towards EV, or they leverage somebody like an IBM or Tesla or Honeywell or somebody's quantum computer versus building their own, but they got enough money to do it. So we have to be mindful of what's going on around us and what skill sets and specialties those are, in order to be in those circles, to talk, to have those conversations, attending the conferences, the quantum computer conference, attending even Amazon tracks for quantum computing is another one. Azure, and when I say Azure, I mean Microsoft has one as well too. So check out those tracks Go on YouTube and look those up as well too. D, you over there geeking out? Did you like that?
I live in a geek house, so I get the pre rolls. I get the previews.
All right. Oh, I did want to mention. I did want to show this. So, D, this gonna make you mad. So you might want to go off screen because you know your face tells it all. Which Porsche did you just buy? You bought the Taycan, or did you buy? Which one did you get? 911 or special edition one?
Did you get one of those salvage ones out to sea?
Nah, I ain't get one of them out to see. I don't think they
Did you get
pulled
one
them
of them
Porsches.
salvage ones out to sea? Tell us more.
You must bought an election one because you're mentioning they're wrapping up building their own level 3 charging stations around the country. You must have got a Taycan. A Cayman
Yes,
S.
came
Okay.
in.
All right. You didn't want to go for the GT4?
The Cayman S is nice though.
I was just asking, did you want to go for the GT4? Yeah.
It's a
Uh,
mean little school. They hug the curves real nice. It's a mean school.
I miss my Porsche. She's
It's
at
a mean
home.
school.
I bet you she is. All right. So let's hit this one. All right. So in Colorado businesses and schools are growing a cannabis talent pipeline. What does that mean? Um, Colorado cannabis industries supports nearly 40,000 jobs from retail clerks to C-suite executives, and as the new industry grows and goes national. A talent pipeline is slowly being developed. Private companies and public institutions are a part of this nascent pipeline. And in many ways, they're working together to develop a degree program and professional development courses. As apprenticeships gather steam in the business mainstream, cannabis companies, which are by no means immune to uh, the 2020 thing, right? Rolling out their own programs to aspiring cannabis employees on the job training, right? Obviously, in cannabis, we're looking for new talent. The CEO of Denver-based vertically integrated cannabis company Seed and Smith told Denver Business Journal, you have the old guard people who have been growing in the basement for 20 years, shifting toward a different kind of worker. I think that served its purpose in the industry. We have a new, more talented group that's more educated with applying data and data science. All right. Seed and Smith operates two retail stores, one each in Denver and one in Louisville. Louisville is up the street here. And it recently launched that's where the fires were at. It recently launched an internship program at its location in Montebello neighborhood. It's held job fairs right across the street from the Montebello store in effort to promote social equity. Lustig said the Montebello neighborhood has 4 times as many Black residents and 3 times as many Latino residents as the seven-county Denver metro, taken as a whole, and 19% of its family live in poverty, according to the Colorado-based this says Python Foundation Shift Research Lab. The neighborhood is home to 32 cannabis cultivation facilities, according to the city and the county of Denver, and it is considered a neighborhood of undue concentration, meaning no more grows can be built there. It is exactly the type of neighborhood targeted by Colorado's social equity program. Let me see. They're looking for 4-year internship program, and it is not a social equity program. Rather, he said it's a partnership that provides training and mentorship. He said take them off the shoulder, off the off the with a good head on their shoulders, literally completely green off the street. and we can develop you into an upper management or upper level technician by direct to a directing department. And nearly for a decade, voters passed the Amendment 64, legalizing regulated sale and consumption of high-inducing cannabis plant. Denver area colleges and universities are developing a degree program around the industry. Right? See, a community college, at community college in Denver, students can earn a 4-year degree through the school's cannabis science and operations bachelor of applied science program. So those of you that want to get your kids into cannabis and want to get into the cannabis industry or whatnot, this is an option. You asked about, y'all always talk about these basket weaving degrees. Well, here you go. You can get a 4-year degree in cannabis. And they're working on it, and they already have an associate's program for applied science, right? Bachelor of Applied Science. And I'm gonna stop there. D, drop the link. D, tell me what your thoughts are. Have you been listening to the 4-year degree of cannabis? What are your thoughts?
Basket weaving degrees. That's funny. Um, well, at home they have a bureau of cannabis. Like, I have my other thoughts about incarceration in cannabis, but why not? It's a plant. They're making billions of dollars off of weed every year. So you know what? If you need a degree in it, whether it's the technology and all that other type of stuff, it's like anything else. You can go get that paperwork, but you still got to know what you're talking about.
Let me see. It said the associate program he helped design with the industry professionals, which originally launched in 2019, has 56 students enrolled, and he said there are more than 70 applications for the bachelor's program, which starts this fall.
I mean, and just think of all the people that have been in the cannabis industry before it was like an industry, and the level of knowledge that they have about it, and just to push the tech behind it. Like, there's so much that I want to say, but I have to hold back because, you know, I
Well,
don't want to
y'all
be
can
like
go
a
look up
judge.
Daniel Khalif. He is the vice president of higher education.
At the green flower, because that's what they call it, the flower. Like, I know people that were in hydroponics in my 20s. So it's interesting. It's interesting, the cannabis industry.
Check this one out. The University of Boulder, Colorado Lead School of Business also has a certificate for higher level professionals. It was originally designed to be a week long, but debuted right as the 2020 thing happened, sent everything virtual. So the Cannabis Entrepreneurship Academy lasted 4 consecutive weeks with just one course a week, doing a deep dive into law for 2 days and business for the other two. The program, which is a partnership with the CU Law School, will be back in 2023. It's an opportunity to upskill or for any attorneys to meet their continual education requirements. So you can go and get you a higher learning degree.
In the cannabis industry, I think that's one of those things where I was just like, I'm getting a JD and a minor in cannabis. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I'm going to get a CS degree and a minor in cannabis.
So again, I'm just sharing what's out there. So if you're gonna get into it, you can get into it from a lawyer perspective. You can get into it from a data science perspective, or you can be a grower, or you can do drone delivery. I'll post those links. I'll probably talk about it next week on the drone delivery for cannabis and what that looks like, um, and who's doing it, and what 4-year college degree you can get with that. It has Well, and so forth. I got a lot of stuff in the works that I'm working on. I'm just showing you where everything looks like and at, and we're still Linux based here when we're talking about this as well too, which is funny. Let me see. The article is long, but I just wanted to show you that. And here are the 2021 area cannabis companies. The Green Solution. Let me pull this up here. I'm logged in. All right. And these are number of employees. The Green Solution, the Live Well, Enlightened Health, Native Roots Cannabis, Light Shade, Charlotte's Web, Green Dragon, Terrapin Care Station. I don't know. I guess I'm Swayze. I look at that like Swayze. Warner Brands, Balance Health Botanicals, Naughty Rims, Colorado Harvest Company, Bluebird Botanicals. Right, just to name a few. And that was back in 2021. That was the latest and greatest. I wanted to make sure I shared that with you. Um, I thought this was important as well too, and I got one other thing I'm gonna close out with. Um, well, two other things I'm gonna close out with. All right. How a Chicago insurtech company is using $82 million in a Series D to bet big in St. Pete. So they're coming to St. Pete, a Chicago-based insurtech company with a large presence in St. Petersburg has raised $82 million. Ken Insurance announced earlier in March it raised funds led by Virginia-based QED investors. Its first close of what's expected was 100 million Series D, and the company raised 215 million to this date. You have a deep bench of insurance carriers right here in Tampa Bay marketplace. So it does a really attractive environment recruiting people with experience, and their officers. Ken and the fellow St. Petersburg residents were working with both insurance and technology and were able to get incredible talent for both. Right. So that's that one. And I wanted to um, make sure I highlight this one, but let me. Um, oh, it's actually three more. All right, two more after this. One more. Here we go. Federal lawsuits claim that former St. Pete startup executives forced company into bankruptcy. This was very interesting that I found here. Um, what ended up happening is a St. Petersburg startup focused on the blockchain for promotional purposes has filed a federal lawsuit against its former executives. All right. So they're allegedly that they stole their technology, forced them into bankruptcy, and forced them out of their company, and then took their IP basically and went and did something else with it. All right. The suit has filed an belief on the behalf of I guess Parade Tech March 18th in Middle District Court of Tampa with 16 counts, including breach of contract, 3 counts of conspiracy, and 4 counts of racketeering. It's a 54-page lawsuit, and it goes on. But this also goes into the question of what do you need to do to protect yourselves as a company? What protections do you need to have in place? Who do you need to contact? What type of lawyer? Your patents and so forth. These are things that are super important when you start talking about building. We also had Donna August on to talk about patents within companies. Albert actually has a couple of patents out there. Like, what does that look like when you create a patent inside of a company? The IP. What if you have a patent that you created outside of the company? Does the company have right to that patent? Did you where did that idea come from? Did it come from them? So again, these are just things that I want to talk about when we're talking about our IP within companies, our what is our IP outside of companies, and how do you protect yourself, especially when you're signing on to this new company and you have this information, right? You sign on to this new company, you have this information. What does that look like? You're saying, hey, I'm coming in. Do you write an addendum to include your stuff? Is it patent pending? What about your ideas, and so forth? Uh, D, when you say what browser is still acting up, what browser acting up? Because I'm scrolling just fine on my end. Oh, can you put? Oh, yeah, you can close out. You want me to drop you off? Oh, okay. All right. Can you put my? Oh, you can't put it back up. I gotta put it back up. Oh, well, no, you can do it. That's all good. All right. So I saw this. I didn't read it yet, so I'm gonna read this with you, and then we'll talk about some open source stuff. So sealed confidential IBM files in an age discrimination case now will be all public. And this is going to be probably really interesting to go through. Confidential IBM documents presented in court as evidence to support claims that Big Blue systematically shed older workers. Documents subsequently placed under seal have now been made public. The document slides charts that describe corporate efforts to shift headcount towards younger workers, referably to as early professional hires, made their courtroom debut in Langley versus IBM, an age discrimination case filed in 2018. The register got a glimpse of those documents in 2018 after they had been submitted by Langley's legal team. IBM sought to unmask the individual who leaked the documents, denied as an effort denied by the judge in that case. Now, the internal files that have been entered as an exhibit. Let me pull that up. Exhibit A. Let me see. This is the exhibit that they have. Transforming to next generation digital talent. Focus on strategic cities to magnify impact through scale. Key battlegrounds, digital centers, and developer advocacy teams. Attracting, it says here, continuous talent refresh. Focus on programs to create room for new talent to build skills for key growth areas in cloud and cognitive. Early professional hires, 10% annual talent growth, talent refresh. Dynamic attrition actions maintain steady attrition to offset hiring, reduce regretted attrition, and they got it all highlighted on here. Drive a more aggressive pro performance management approach to enable us to hire and replace and fund an influx of EP to correct seniority mix. Um, Nothing there here. Recruit top early professionals from top universities. So this gets into, well, what's considered a top university, right? And I'll blow this up so you can see what I'm reading, right? Drive a more aggressive performance management approach to ensure us to hire and replace where needed, and fund and influence the EPs to correct seniority mix. See, lift and shift. Shift Head count mixed towards early professional hires, increased top talent from investment universities. Right. So there's been a long ongoing stance. The older you get, the more they age you out of tech. In most companies as well too. So it's not just tech. I don't want to say just tech, right? It's other companies as well too. And then the other part is also as you get older, you need to maintain your skill set. You just need to maintain your skill sets throughout, but as you get older, you just need to make sure that those skill sets are being maintained. Let me see, that's Denver. That's the quantum. Oh, can I go back on this one? Yeah, it's a back page on this. Um, and it says, let me see. They go on to talk more about the what was covered in there. So IBM spokesperson cities figures that included in Lomaro's post said in 2010 to 2020, 37% of the U.S. hires at IBM were over the age of 40. IBM hired more than 10,000 people in the U.S. over the age of 50 and 1,500 people over the age of 60. So people over 60 are still working and getting hired and working at IBM. And this is as of 2020, right? At the end of this period, 2020, 26% of U.S. workforce had been with the company for 20 years or more. The median age of IBM's U.S. workforce was 48, precisely where it was in 2010, and 6 years older than the 2020 median of all U.S. workers. So most U.S. workers are around 42. That's what they're saying. If we're looking at it from that perspective, right? So that's your average. I thought this was a good. I'll give it to you so you can go read all the other court documents if you would like. And when we're talking about age and age discrimination and what that looks like as you get older in tech, you too, if you keep breathing, if you stay healthy, you too will be the older person in tech. All right. So let me pull this up here. Hold on 1 second, and we'll pull this over. I wanted to highlight this because a lot of people ask me about how you got started. I got started in tech with Cisco and Cisco networking, but I wanted to highlight Stephen Augustus, who is the head of open source at Cisco. And this is an episode about being the head of open source and what does that look like. I'm not gonna. It's 16 minutes long. I'm not gonna go this 16 minutes. But what I did want to do is introduce you to. You're always looking for open source projects and so forth. But I wanted to also mention Cisco has an open source project and what that could look like for you working with someone who is the head of open source and reaching out to them to see if something that you may want to do, something that you may like. So let's scroll through this.
Hey, Snackers, Matt Napoli here. I'm one of the managers of developer advocacy with Cisco DevNet.
Hello, Snackers. This is Kareem Iskander. I'm a tech advocate with Cisco Learning and Certification.
Welcome to episode 60 of DevNet Snack Minute.
DevNet Snack Minute is your weekly 10-minute all things DevNet, giving you a quick, fun way to learn about Cisco APIs, coding, and just some cool stuff that we do.
And our guest today is a prolific contributor to the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, and he is the new director of open source with Cisco. And I'd like him to introduce himself. Stephen, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself to our audience.
Hey, Snackers. I'm Stephen Augustus, head of open source at Cisco and one of the engineering directors in the emerging tech and incubations department. Outside of my day-to-day at Cisco, I am as Matt mentioned, a CNCF contributor, one of the members of various governance bodies across the CNCF to-do group, OpenSSF. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So I misspoke earlier. I said director of open source, so head of open source at Cisco, which is, from what I understand, and I haven't heard of this role before, having been in Cisco so long, you're the first person to kind of hold this title within Cisco. Can you talk about that particular role and what you're looking to do to bring Cisco into the open source world, or how it plays out for Cisco and for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely want to recognize the contributions that have come before me. We have had open source efforts in the past, but this is the newest, latest, hottest one. So I'm kind of focused both internally and externally. I think that there are kind of three lenses to look at in terms of contributions. That's kind of the lens of the contributor, the lens of a maintainer, and then the lens of sponsorship. And Cisco as an organization is kind of focused on all three. So my job here is to evangelize open source, not just consumption, but contribution and maintainership across all of Cisco, and partner with communities on the external side to make sure that we are showing up in the way that we need to.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've been with Cisco for 14 years now, Matt. You don't really hear Cisco and translate that to open source, so it's cool. And I know you and I worked a little bit on a couple of open source projects back in the days, and DevNet. Shipped was one of them, and Mantle. And recently, I think you did an episode around API Clarity, which I believe is also open source, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is. And that's coming out of the same organization that Steven's coming out of, yeah.
Yeah, that was the first one I worked on.
Nice. Yeah, I'm super excited because it's always fun to have a demo, and I know Steven, you have a demo for us today around Scorecard. So let's get into that and let's talk about it a little bit, if you don't mind.
All right. So what I want to highlight here was, one, he showed up as who he is and his authentic self. He got his hair out, he got his beard. And this is March 15th. This is like really recent. This is not like 2020. But I wanted to show who's doing what in tech, what they look like, different voices, different faces that we see, possibilities in tech, and so forth. If you want to check out this video, I'll give Dee the link to this video. You can check this video out if you want to. If you want to look him up online as well too, reach out to him. The what he has on here right here, that Cloud Native Computing Foundation, that's the CNCF. This is if you've ever been to any of my meetups, you already know about this. I talk about this all the time. So the CNCF landscape, right? And if you look at the landscape here, I'm going to blow this out some. So if you look at this landscape here, you see we get into just different things of open source, just different open source projects and different ways that you can contribute as well too. But here we got databases, we got serverless, we got stream messaging, we got application, image building, continuous integration and delivery, different platforms, certified Kubernetes hosting, certified Kubernetes installers, PaaS containers, observability, and analysis, key management, security and compliance, container registry, automation and configuration, Kubernetes certified service program, and so forth. And you can click on any of these right here, like this one right here. If I click on that, it's going to make it wider. It's going to tell you how long it's been around, what kind of funding that they have. Just because it's open source doesn't mean they get funding. And as well as their social media and what happens when going through this. There are, let me go back over here. Again, I talked about this last week about different licenses that you can have, or you may fall under when it comes to dealing or creating your own open source project and so forth. And what does the money look like around that with building out your team and building this product and so forth. I talked about this before about having having the ability to pay people, right? So you have this open source project you need, and you want people to work. Some people will work for free with you, and some people are like, I ain't doing none of that, right? So you got to figure out how to pay them and what that looks like. All right. And I wanted to end on this note. This may not be a favorable note for everybody else, but it's a reason why I'm ending on this note. But I'm not ending on this note from a perspective of who she is, but who, like the speech that she gave and who the shoulders she stands upon, which I thought was interesting. When you start talking about who was the first Black female federal judge. And I thought it would be an interesting note to end up.
I stand on the shoulders of so many who have come before me, including Judge Constance Baker Motley, who was the first African-American woman to be appointed to the federal bench and with whom I share a birthday. And like Judge Motley, I have dedicated my career to ensuring that the words engraved on the front of the Supreme Court building, equal justice under law, are a reality and not just an ideal.
Constance Baker Motley served as co-counsel with Thurgood Marshall in the case that made segregated schools illegal, Brown versus the Board of Education, and she was appointed as a federal judge by President Lyndon Johnson in 1966, the year before President Johnson chose Thurgood Marshall as the first Black Supreme Court justice. Judge Constance Baker Motley served in federal district court with senior status in New York City until her death in 2005 at the age of 84. And joining us now, Judge Constance Baker Motley's son, my dear friend, Joel Motley. He is Chairman Emeritus of the Board of Human Rights Watch. Joel, thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is very special for me. And I want to just get your reaction to how you were feeling today when your mother was once again invoked and praised in this Supreme Court nomination process.
Well, thank you, Lawrence. It's a very, very special feeling and historic for all the reasons that you've mentioned. When my mother was nominated to be the first Black woman federal judge, James Eastland, who was the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, held her nomination for a year. He had a particular anger about her because she represented James Meredith, who you see there in the picture, who integrated Ole Miss in his state. And he and others from the South were out to get her.
I was also wondering today, Joel, if you have any advice for the future Supreme Court justices' teenage daughters, because you, as a teenager, had a hero at the breakfast table every morning. What's that like?
Well, it's still your mother and my father there. They're still your parents, so there's all the regular aspects of that. But then every now and then, even when I was very young, to see her on television with these civil rights cases let me know that she was quite special.
So shout out to Constance. That's what I wanted to show was Constance. And I see in the comments it went straight to who she's married to, and I don't care who that lady is married to. I mean, she don't cut no check here, so like, like who cares who that lady is married to? I mean, I can go down the line if we wanted to go down the line. Let's really focus on that then. Shit, I got time. Let's look at Don Peebles and who he's married to, and I think he's worth 700 million. It was in the documentary, right? There's Don Peebles, right? Oh, Mr. Donahue Peebles. Look who he's married to, but yet he contributes to HBCUs. Steve Harvey has talked about his contributions as well too, and him helping him out as well too. We can go look at Robert Smith, and I can go on and on and on and on. But who cares who they're married to? Maybe they know something we don't know. How about that? How about that? Maybe they know something we don't know, right? So I mean, again, that's neither here nor there. Who they're married to. The other thing, and one last little thing I wanted to show, I actually went back in and bought this. Um, and I wanted to make sure that you all see got a chance to. I don't know if y'all ever got a chance to look at this, but I really, really thought it was inspiring. And let me see if I can bring it up. Um, let me see. Hold on. I had it up. Hold on. Let me pause that real quick. Let it come up. Okay.
The way he spoke, the way he thought, he had a brilliant mind. Brilliant. The fact that he went into Morehouse at 14 was saying something. He came in so young, he finished at 18. He skipped a lot of grades.
So that's Maynard Jackson, the first black mayor of Atlanta. Went to Morehouse, like they said, at 14 and graduated. Um, so just wanted to highlight Maynard Jackson for y'all to check out Maynard, and see what he's done and how he did it. Again, he took his money out of the white banks in Atlanta and put them into the black bank in Atlanta. Him and I should say the mayor of DC and this particular mayor, Maynard Jackson, got together to talk about government contracting and also how they could start building what they considered a um, not just a black city, but economic development and high end black city. So check it out. It is on. You can get it on what you call it on Amazon Prime. That's where it's at. But I just wanted to highlight that when we're talking about what is it like to build and what is it like to build a city? What is it like to uh, build your own, apartment complexes, build your own communities and so forth. Be mindful of what is the economic development plan, what goes on and so forth. Again, all goes back to leadership. You're either lead or you're going to be led. So that's what I got for you. Hope to see everybody next week. Hope you enjoyed the show. I saw somebody say class is over. Class is never over. We just continue to teach and train in the Slack. All right. See y'all next week.